Good morning, everybody. I'm just gonna try to get some stuff set up here. So we have SMT. What I'm watching right now at the moment is the SMT on these highs in the 15-minute chart between NQ and ES. We'll see how the open reacts. So far it looks like NQ has played catch up to take those highs. We'll see if it does or not. If it leaves that high alone, we may opt to try to take a short. Okay, it has not, so we're just going to sideline for another second as I get this figured out. Just going to sideline for another second. Okay. All right, we have that figured out. Sorry, let me just get my charts and everything all set. Okay, so nice little push off the open here. And I think this is really kind of coming from the divergence between this low, right, these lows, NQ and ES. So we'll see if it wants to reach back up into the weekly open here. If not, maybe ES creates some sort of divergence using this high and NQ leaves this one alone. I'm kind of just waiting. As far as downside goes, I could see it go a little bit lower on NQ's part. I would have liked to have seen it move into the midpoint of this impulse range on the 4-hour, which is this 50% level right there. And then obviously if it wants to head even lower, sure, you know. I don't know why I have this marked out. It must be some sort of lower time frame equal low. Okay, ish, sort of. There's like a 5-minute, whatever. So we can keep that in mind too. It seems like everything is actually kind of shifted slightly lower. Like these don't really make sense, so I have that marked out. Which is weird, but I'm assuming it's, Sorry, I just need to check some stuff out because some stuff is a little weird. Okay, yeah, it's all 1-minute stuff. That's fine. Yeah, so these 1 minute, that's what I figured. All right, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's obviously targets to the downside. I do believe that upside is still kind of the move from a macro perspective. We may just be getting a retracement from that downgrade news, but the reality is I think it needs to go higher to take these highs anyway. We are in a weekly, like, you know, then if you look at larger time frame structure, we are in the weekly fair value gap. The midpoint, however, of that fair value gap is right around here. So if we measure that out, you'll see it's right around the bottom. And if I get rid of it, you'll see there's another blue line that appears right around the bottom of a first kind of swing high sweep. So I definitely think it can travel up there, but like I said, we may just be kind of retracing at the moment. I mean, we have had a nice push up, you know, on the weekly chart. We've had about what looks like 3 weeks of consecutive upside movement. I mean, obviously we had one sort of week that closed still bullish, like even though it's a down close candle, it's still kind of a bullish close. So, and we had a huge expansion, so it's natural for us to want to kind of consolidate for a little bit and or retrace. Before I do forget, I want to mention that there is somebody trying to impersonate me currently. Obviously, you guys know I don't charge anything. You know, the Discord is free. It says free Discord in the description. If I ever plan on charging anybody anything, the first to know it will either be my Discord or you'll see it here on stream. But right now, that's not the case. Everything is free. Like I'm not reaching out to anybody. I'm not asking for money in any sort of way. So please do not answer anybody that's using something like my handle. I believe the handle that they're using is GM Futures with a period at the end. My handle is GM Futures. That's it. Again, the only Discord is the one in my description. I don't reach out to anybody else. I don't reach out to anybody first. I'm not very active on the Discord as it is. I'm mainly just active on the stream, so please be careful. And that's all I want to say about that. Definitely, and if that person does approach you, please report them. Thank you. Hold on 1 second, guys. I just have a call real quick I need to take. I hate spam calls, man. Okay, so anyway, that's that. So now we have that divergence on the highs between ES and NQ. What I meant to do also was look at some news, see what kind of news is coming out of anything today. I do want to be mindful here. I don't want to miss anything good. More divergence on these highs, on the 1 minute highs as well. Yeah, I missed that because I was blabbering. So typically I would take the short right here. Would have ripped it as it retested this up close. Let's go here, change this to default, yada yada. Go to Forex Factory. Okay, so today we have leading index month over month at 10 o'clock, and then just a bunch of Fed speak. And Q kind of coming back up. Let's see if ES wants to reach into the weekly opening price there. Maybe, I mean, this has that 1 hour. Wait for a little something more convincing. To kind of have these nice equal highs here on ES. On the 15, and then on the hour that also translates. See, this was the divergence right before, right in Asia session, causes kind of peak lower. Then have London, manipulates higher, comes lower. Maybe it's a London, maybe it's a reversal profile. I'm going to look at the rest of the week as well. Honestly, it's just a ton of Fed speakers. And then we have PMI on Thursday and unemployment. And then home sales. Yeah, week's kind of dead. Is there earnings this week? Anybody know of that? Let me check. You know, I hate doing things on my phone because then I have to fix the stream up on my phone. It's a good pump. No real way for us to go for getting involved. I mean, I just pumped right off the open. I like to look at all the support off the old new week opening gap. I just wasn't going to take longs here as it was diverting here and getting stuck at midnight. You kind of got to be careful with a setup like that. Okay, so there are some earnings this week. We have more like retail earnings. So we have Target on Wednesday, all before the open. Wix, Zoom, Snowflake. So there's some bigger at Home Depot. Yeah, okay. Workday. Banks on Thursday. Okay, nothing too crazy though. Some tech, some retail. See what happens. Target might be a good one to watch for like retail strength. Okay, so there goes ES into the weekly open. Dow taking out this high. And Q, same sort of thing. So if you look at the hourly, I mean, Q obviously has this gap. We have the White House press secretary speaking right now. See what happens. I think a large amount of people are going to be caught off sides on looking for down moves because of the downgrade. We may just rip right through, but we'll see. So again, news at 10 o'clock. Looking for ES to take these highs. All right, there goes ES. Pushing into most. It should come up, sweep this high out. If you're new here, the green boxes are new week opening gaps, yellow boxes are new day opening gaps, and gray boxes are my fair value gaps. So what I did just now is I wanted to measure out half of the equilibrium of this 15-minute impulse leg down that we never visited, which is right here, and then also the midpoint of the hourly fair value gap, which is denoted here. Again, you kind of have ES kind of breaking just before taking these highs. I think that's suspect. I would look for long retracements. There you go. Stepped up above that. I think we just got a headline too as well. No, not yet. Okay. So yes, did take that high just by a tick. I'd probably like to see it go a little bit higher. Same for kind of NQ. Didn't really reach into the midpoint of the hourly gap or the 15-minute EQ. I would watch that. Yo, Viraj, how are you, man? Nice. You kind of have the double, some double SMT here with the ES taking that high on the sub time frame chart, and then the also higher time frame chart taking that high. I'm doing pretty good, brother. Just hanging, waiting for something. I do kind of like the short side into the 4-hour impulse range, but we may not even get it at this point. We'll see. I don't know how the markets. I mean, I'd like to think that we kind of just rip through any of this downgrade news, and just kind of continue on the way up. But I also don't mind the thought of like everybody's trying to short the open, right? Say retail's trying to short the open all the way down. They get rinsed up and then only for it to fall back over. That I could see happening. So I'm kind of open to everything today. But at the moment, it's just kind of gone straight up. So there's not much for me to do yet. Again, I kind of have some certain areas that are marked out on the chart for me to keep an eye on. So now we're into the midpoint of the hourly gap. 4-hour perspective, daily. Looks like that's the midpoint of the daily fair value gap that we kind of came into. Yeah, kind of tapped it perfectly and moved higher. Viraj, thank you for the heads up on that impersonator as well. I just got another message from Hanzia saying that he tried to add them as well. What's funny is like, I don't even have I don't understand why anybody would be trying to, like, it's such a low hanging fruit scam. Like, how many people are, you know what I mean? It's only you guys and a few others. You know, the Discord maybe has like 14 people in it, 13 people in it tops. Like, who are you trying to scam? I guess in some thought it's a smart one because it's like a niche community and it's probably, you know, people are a little bit probably more trusting of me, so they would, you know, maybe it's an easier scam to get through. But at the same time, like, yo, I don't even got nothing, man. Like, I don't even charge anybody anything. It's kind of stupid. It's not even like I have a paid Discord. Okay. So, nice push right into the midpoint of that 15-second range, or excuse me, 15-minute range. And we have divergence between ES and NQ. I am tempted to get short that, stab up. I'm just trying to heed some caution. That I don't like. I don't like how we've yet to move into that gap. See how we made perfect highs with that gap? I'd have to, if I was short NQ, I'd be very afraid of ES wanting to come up and take out that upper limit high. Even though everything is qualifying for an attempt to short this market. I'm going to try one there. Time's at 9:46. New 15-minute candle just opened. I'm going to look for some sort of retracement lower, I think, after it stabbed into the midpoint of this old impulse range. I think we should be able to get some sort of reaction to the downside. Maybe at least back up into the weekly open, and we'll see if we can see what that sort of gives me. You know, it's not much. And again, I kind of want to be stopped right there. Watch the midpoint of the hourly gap. Want to be careful that this isn't an order block. Yes, good close below that would be good for me. Stock gets reduced to that level. Again, we're going to watch how we react if we do react it to the weekly open. Okay, quick little paper cut. There goes ES taking that high. I was kind of worried about. But that's okay. I was happy to take the short and reduce the stop. Now we're just kind of moving up higher. Absolutely ripping here. It could be it. Could just be, you know, a strong up day. Tweezer top highs, very suspect. You know, I typically will target those on lower time frames, so, you know, fractal nature says, you know, it's no different. BPR. Midpoint of this week's new week opening gap. Tried another short there. See if the BPR holds us lower. I understand that we hit off the midpoint of this new week opening gap, but on the regular NQ contract, we hadn't hit that midpoint yet. I like happy to try the smaller stabs, you know. Still hasn't hit it yet. I'm watching the regular NQ contract for the midpoint of the new week opening gap. And I don't really want to. Wow, strong wick up there. Moving the stop to even off of that now that we've reached into the regular new week opening gap, trimming 2 of them to recover the loss. Now going to measure midpoint of the range, and we'll start to trail the stop into there. So I like the immediate retest of this up close candle, and then a puke lower would be nice. So if you guys are watching the regular NQ contract, you'll see that what I was kind of talking about. If you compare it with the MNQ contract, you'll see that MNQ was reaching into this midpoint, but the full size NQ contract was not. So therefore, I was kind of willing to hold the trade to let, you know, NQ reach into the midpoint. We'll see if this 15-minute, you know, uses this little, excuse me, the 5-minute BPR does anything for any sort of substantial retracement. It could not. I am kind of at this point looking towards these highs as a draw, so I'm not really interested in holding any high resistance shorts, which could technically, you know, be this setup here on a 15-second time frame. Realistically, if it was really gonna kind of puke lower, I would have liked to have seen this retest or maybe even this candle be the last up close candle and then us kind of reach lower. What's up, Dollar? How you doing, brother? So yeah, so that's why I was quick to just kind of get the stop out of the way. And also when you do have a sort of freight train sort of upside move and you have these like these midpoints right on the new week opening gap, it could be a spot of, you know, where it doesn't really retrace very deep at all and it just kind of rips through everything, kind of just holds here and continues higher. So that was the decision for keeping the risk really tight on that trade. It's going pretty good, man. Just hanging. Had like 1 loss, 1 win. I do like on the 15-second chart how there's this kind of breakaway gap. Well, not anymore. But how it kind of was moving away from the midpoint of the opening gap, the new week opening gap, and leaving this as a breakaway is nice. I don't see it back to that. Yeah, I hear you, dude. That's a good idea. Good idea to be pretty conservative today. A lot of movement already in the market, up and down. Multiple divergences on the lows here between ES and NQ, as NQ is reaching down into the midpoint of this impulse range on the 1-minute chart. I like that. Dow is just screaming. Keeping an eye here. I would like to just long this move, especially since ES has the divergence on the upside. Last 5 minutes, 5 minutes just opened, so we have 1 more 5-minute candle until news. It's 2, 1, 3, 4, 5. It's like less than 10 points. Probably should have just taken an ambitious long here. There's some support off the midpoint, which is nice. And you could use this as a inversion. I'm going to think about doing that. See how we react into the 5-minute BPR again. And again, ES, this is the target to the upside for ES. I just wanted to get away from those equal lows. Get stopped out anyway. All right, little chasey. I mean, we have the divergence on the highs. NQ does one more stab below. Seems like I had the right idea, just unfortunately not the right time. Still have divergence on those highs. Could be waiting for the 10 o'clock open. I'll just wait. But I think it probably wants to move higher. If it does give a retracement, great. You know, we'll just trade it higher later. Finding support on the high end of the hourly fair value gap. Again, we will see how that plays out. Like ES is relentlessly kind of strong here. I think 10 a.m. probably does open and rips higher. Same with sort of Dow. There's not a whole lot of retracement. It's just kind of NQ that's playing around. With that said, it could just open and still kind of go lower. So and we're not really, I mean, we're down about $1, so I want to be conservative with how aggressive my entries are here. So here's 10 o'clock, or not yet, sorry, one more 15-second candle. There it goes. Yeah. Little stab down. all these like smooth equals on the 15-second chart. Definitely lets me know that we're going to be headed back up there at some point. Pretty aggressive. Taps into the 5-minute PPR there and starts to kind of run away. So I was thinking about taking a long after we inverted this gap. I was just kind of hoping we'd get a retest into it, and rather than just kind of buying the high up here and then risking the low. Again, if I wasn't red already on the day, I would probably have gotten that aggressive entry and was willing to take the drawdown, but because we kind of got taken out of one trade, then, you know, kind of have to be a little more cautious. Can't be taking too many losses right off the rip. So as of now, that's that. Have 15, ES on the 15 kind of looks decent, or excuse me, what is this, 5-minute? So 5-minute on ES, we just kind of just took this little high out and we're into these fair value gaps now. And Q diverting still not, hasn't taken this high yet, so that could be reason for some sort of retracement if it's going to give us anything. Low risk short there, adding into it. As it reached into the top of the new week opening gap and there was divergence on the highs, willing to take a stab at it. Very, very tight risk, you know, just using this little 15-second potential order block, nothing. Wow. So I'm looking for like quick, you know, some sort of a quick move to the downside, you know, without any sort of high resistance stabs above these up close candles, and trying to pack on size for them, but that's just not giving it to me. If it does retrace, that is even, but that's kind of unfortunate. Still divergence on the lows, but I don't really think that he leaves that low alone. Midpoint of this wick was nice. Just kind of rich in upside for me right now. Nothing real deep, you know, just kind of heading higher relentlessly. Not able to really catch any retracements. Looking for like the quickest, soonest, you know, like the soonest spot of reversal. The last few trades. Packed on a little bit of extra, just really liked the look of this. I guess NQ is lagging here. Okay, huge gap up in the data. I don't know if there was some sort of headline. I don't know. Huge gap in data, but that's synonymous with the other MNQ contracts. Or not synonymous, just synchronous, I guess, is the right word. Definitely going to look for a short into this void. Just would like to see some sort of SMT on the highs to cover it. That would be nice. That way I can just get the, I probably want to sell above the high and assume that ES is not going to take the high. ES or Dow. I'm going to move just to stop all the way up here. Regular NQ contracts took this high, so I got the short as I don't really want to miss out on it. I think, you know, we could definitely move into this area down here, fully close that in. I'm willing to give it a little bit of room though to correct itself. I'd love to add into the move, but I'm afraid of the fact that the difference between MNQ and NQ on these highs. I would feel like I'd feel dumb if I added, here, and it kind of gave me an opportunity to maybe add a couple up there, or at least stab up here. It gives me a little more comfortability holding the trade. So I kind of have to play the hand I'm dealt here. Honestly, I'd like to see it roll over sooner rather than later, since it's in close proximity to the gap. Possible breakaway gap here on the 15-second chart. I want to give it a chance to really fill it. We could look at the halfway point. Stop goes to even here. I think ES could probably at least take this low, or at least reach into the volume imbalance. So I'll hang around for it. So ES, again, would like to see ES at least into the volume imbalance, NQ at least into the midpoint. Maybe even this low for ES, NQ into this low would be great. I have a lot of headlines coming out, so there's some sort of risk here. I don't like how ES is kind of turning around. And again, I have to worry about the difference between the NQ contract and the MNQ contract just in these highs. I'm sort of betting on the fact that it's going to want to fully close the gap. At least midpoint would be reasonable, I think, but it's not really given that at the moment. Again, would like to see at least ES move into this 5-minute volume imbalance. That would make a lot of sense to me, but may have to. This one may be a re-entry if NQ wants to stab above these highs here. It's a shame if it doesn't work out right now. Wow, really reached up high there. Let's see if this gap, if it just kind of colored outside the lines with that gap. To have some SMT on those highs now. Quick stop out. So there's the difference. Let's see if it fixes this difference. Okay. All right. I mean, well, wait. If we can hold this SMT on the highs, I wouldn't be opposed to trying again for a sell. All right, gotta wait. It's not really giving me any sort of divergence. I was waiting for to see if NQ was gonna puke the high here. What's up, Retta? How you doing, man? Good morning. Good, man. I'm glad you're doing well. Trades have been okay. Couple losers this morning so far. A little bit of back and forth. Had a nice trade into this imbalance down. I think we probably will revisit it. I'm just looking to try to get re-short into that area. I just want to, I just don't know where exactly that is. Could be right here. I do like this area. Divergence on the highs with the Dow as well. Could be nice. I like how it's rejecting the top end of the 5-minute gap after reaching into the other one. And we do have the weakness on the Dow between these highs. This one might just run away without me, which would suck. Try one as it stabs up into the gap here. Again, I'm looking for at least the midpoint of, the actual void on the MNQ. Would make a lot of sense to me. And then even possibly lower, but we have the SMT between Dow and ES on the highs. I think it's reasonable to look for the short again. I'm adding a little bit. I'll get rid of the add above this high. It's a little bit more convincing. I just didn't like how it took that. I kind of wanted it to be like a sort of one swing high and lower sort of deal. I also should have it stopped in somewhere. Finding support at this, 5-minute imbalance there. It's also 3 drives into that 5 minute. I would like it to just go at least one lower would make me feel better about the trade. 3 drives into the midpoint of the old 5 minute gap. It's not really great for downside. Really holding the low. There you go. Nice. See ES take these lows here. And Q as well, hopefully. Again, I'm looking for ES to move into here. Probably even this 5 minute volume imbalance makes a lot of sense. I'm adding into it as it kind of gives me the chance. Again, I am really looking for ES to at least take, I mean, it's making a lot of weak structure on the sub-time frames, and NQ has, a reason to move lower to close in this 1 minute void. So as it moves back up into the midpoint of that 5 minute gap and ES kind of has the same sort of retracement, I'm taking that as an opportunity to add into my position. Holding the bottom end, which is a little sketchy. But if you look at the 15-minute candles on ES and NQ, they're relatively wickless. Especially ES has no, I think, bottom wick on this last 15-minute candles open. So I'm holding for that sort of thing. Not getting the type of speed that I'd like. The market's very slow to the downside today, which is always a little scary. Very, very slow. And I don't like the support. I would love it to just rip down. It's got one more 5 minute. This 5 minute candle has about 2 seconds left on it. There you go. There's the new one. Let's see it puke lower. See if ES runs into this volume imbalance. And Q runs lower as well. Come on. Just do it. 1 minute candle looks decent. I like the formation here. Just needs to get lower. Dow puking a little bit lower. Maybe the destination is all the way to the bottom of the trend line. Maybe even these lows. I'm waiting for ES to take this low here. And I'll take off some risk of the NQ trade. God bless, buddy. Nice. I'm going to de-risk half of the position. Trimming 2 more. We'll leave a runner now. See if ES wants to move lower into the volume imbalance. Oh, that one was tough. Sorry, Red. I'm gonna read your comment now. I was just locked in, bro. High time frame bias is bullish. Today you can see inside bars on Friday and Thursday. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a bullish market, I think, Red. I was just I really liked the I like the downside dynamic just for like, because NQ had that inefficiency. This was strict, this was like purely market structure and market dynamics sort of trade. It wasn't necessarily that I think that and I know, I'm not, I'm not trying to prove you wrong or anything. Right now I'm explaining what my whole thought process was, taking the trade. Right, it was just the gap here. Obviously, you look for that to be filled in, and then ES leaving just shy of this volume imbalance. I think like when you think of some sort of retracement, it's got to go at some point somewhere. You know what I mean? It has to claw back to something. So the absolute low-hanging fruit here was this volume imbalance for ES in terms of intermarket dynamics, and then NQ, or at least MNQ, had the large gap here. So just kind of had to go for it, and then obviously Dow having the SMT on the highs gave us the confidence to go for it. Market getting a little aggressive here. I'm interested to see how it pans out. There's these wickless candles here on the top end. I don't want to get too greedy with this runner, especially as NQ kind of goes to tap in here. You know what? I'll take it off here. I'm okay with the 200 today. Bit of a tricky day. Took us a couple chances to get on side. I was just about to consider holding for this gap, but you know what? It's fine. It was a bit of a little heavier drawdown than I kind of wanted to see today. Dollar amount, so, but more so like in terms of like trying to get on side multiple times. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm cool with hanging it here for the day. I don't love trading a market that goes straight up or straight down. At least straight down, it's a little bit quicker. I'll take what I got. I'll take the little dynamic. There's just nothing super obvious to me right now. It's kind of 50-50. Like it makes a lot of sense for it to want to pull back, and it makes a lot of sense for it to want to go higher. Like this is weak structure to me on the upside. Again, I do have targets to the upside. It makes sense from a psychological point for it to just continue ripping everybody's face off to the upside because we had the downgrade over the weekend or on Friday before the close, and everybody's talking about it. I think max pain is probably higher for retail, so higher it could probably go. So yeah, that's I think that one's going to be it for me, guys. There's not really, like I said, I try to trade, or at least when I'm trading my best, it's when I'm trading the obvious moves to me. That was this move. This was an obvious move, the downside. So for that reason, there's nothing super obvious left. And this is a nice sort of reaction off the midpoint of the gap. Coming back up to the void and then rejecting down. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not really going to put risk on this trade anymore. And what could you target? Well, you could target this gap here. Building a bridge from just this point to this point makes a lot of sense to me. But you'd have to be careful because ES did just barely, but did stab into that same gap. So that is a form of SMT that you have to, watch out for, be careful for. But yeah, I'm not really interested in the market for today. I think for a Monday, that's healthy work. No, it's general order flow. I know as a scalper, you can trade retracements, not just reversal. And no need to catch all them. Yeah, Retta, exactly, man. Yeah, and again, I agree with you. I think general order flow is definitely bullish. I think this is a nice. Honestly, I think the downgrade news is a great excuse for the market to retrace lower and for people to add back in. I think it's a great excuse for people to buy it and get a better price. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know what it's doing to bonds. That's really what you have to kind of watch out for. Let me look at the bonds real quick. I want to look at yields and see how the bond market's acting. So the 2 year is completely flat today. The 5 year is up about 0.6%. 10-year 1.39, 1.52 on the 20, and the long end at 1.55. It's basically, so the only concern with the upgrade, or excuse me, the downgrade from Moody's is more like cost of capital. So money may get more expensive for the U.S. to borrow just because of the downgrade. You know, like that's just kind of how bonds work. Like for example, a trash bond is going to pay a lot higher interest rate than a very stable bond, just due to the nature of like risk. It's the same thing if like you have crappy credit, the company's going to charge you a very high APR if you don't make your payments just because you're a bad risk. So the U.S. is far, 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 far from a bad risk. I think it's just the dynamic is the dynamic as with any downgrade. You know what I mean? The credit rating goes down, so cost of capital goes up. We'll see how that's going to factor into borrowing money for these larger companies and the U.S. economy as a whole. I don't think it really changes too much, just considering we have a lot of leverage in most situations. But yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, so I don't really know. I'm not super. Like I said, I'm still kind of bullish on the news. I think if anything, it gave an opportunity for the market to retrace. Could it go lower? Maybe. Maybe. You have Dow taking the high. That's a nice. So here's a nice a nice thing. I always talk about this, but what we saw here was what I like to call SMT inception. So you have ES and NQ not taking these highs. Okay. And you have Dow taking the hourly high. When you move to a lower time frame, what happens? Dow now fails to take a high, right? So the originally stronger pair becomes the weaker pair, and the originally weaker pairs become the stronger pairs, right? And what does that mean? Well, that just means that that's how I determine true pivots. This is like true SMT, you can call it. It's something that I've discovered just through getting stopped out trying to short weaker pairs all the time. That's why I typically like to short the stronger pair and long the weaker pair, just because the weaker pair is less, or excuse me, the stronger pair is less likely to take highs, even though it's kind of not it doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense, but it's just how it works. The stronger pair will typically, it's already taken the liquidity. Like if this is how you think about the market, you think about the market in terms of balance and liquidity. The stronger pair has already done its job to take highs, okay? So it doesn't need to take highs anymore. The weaker pair, however, does need to take highs. So that's kind of the thing here. Is like Dow's already taken a major point of liquidity, taking the higher time frame high. It doesn't need to take any lower time frame highs to trap any, to balance a move. The other indexes, however, like the weaker ones, they didn't take any major liquidity. So what are they going to do? They're going to create counterparty liquidity by now becoming stronger pairs, taking highs, right? So that balances the market. And that's your little SMT inception lesson for the day. But yeah, I appreciate everybody in here, man. I have a lot of viewers today, which is cool. If you guys like the stream, like and subscribe. I'm live pretty much. Sorry. I'm live pretty much every day except for Thursdays. This week's a little bit busy for me. I don't think I'm going to be live tomorrow, and I'm not going to be live Wednesday, and I'm not going to be live Thursday. So it's going to be a little, a little quiet for me. I'm also preparing to take some exams. So I need, I'm kind of busy outside of trading. But yeah. So otherwise, I mean, we'll just do a quick recap, then I'm going to call it for today because I have some work to do. I'm pleased with where the account is at the moment. It did get very dark for a second. I mean, obviously you can see the account was up around a little over $700 at one point. That's why our maximum loss limit is where it's at. And then we just had a couple bad days. I think we had like 2 back-to-back $500 loss days. And then just had some other kind of just nasty. Like the market was just really hard the last couple weeks for me. I mean, I wouldn't say that I was getting it wrong a million times in a row. I was just kind of looking for follow through moves and just wasn't getting it. I mean, essentially we were, besides obviously the expansions, I was just caught a lot in consolidations. Um, had some days where I gave a lot back, like not a lot, but had on a day like today, for example, say I was up $200. Typically I'll close it, but sometimes I'll feel like, I have a good grasp on the market and I would like to, continue to trade towards, an obvious draw. I'll end up giving it back, then, scrapping, only to end either $50 more or $50 less on the day. So it was also a lot of that type of action the last couple of weeks. So mentally it was exhausting. The market action in general was also very difficult. I just wasn't getting follow through on my trades. As you can see, I typically, I don't mind trying a bunch to get on sides as long as, once I'm on sides, I can get to my destination. That's where the risk reward kind of pans out. Not that I really pay attention to my R multiple too much. I just know that, I can't try to get on side with the market a million times and then only be right once, especially if the move is not that large. So, yeah, that's kind of it. That's why I'm kind of calling it today's, because I don't really see anything that's worthwhile for me. I mean, at least on the low time frames, I like to use low time frames a lot and then the higher time frames to back it up. But yeah, maybe 15-minute stab into the gap here. But like I said, it's 50-50. It's gone too high for me to be interested in a deeper retracement. And I think there's too obvious of targets on the upside for me to be like relentlessly shorting. And it's also seems like the type of day that, like I said, where it just kind of finds the nearest support and continues to rip higher. So for us this week, sorry if you guys hear all those geese outside, I have all the windows open. Earlier, that worry here was like the midpoint of the new week opening gap, which it wasn't the absolute cleanest, but that is how it ended up working. We did have the midpoint being the nearest option, the nearest point of support, and just kind of using it to kind of propel higher. And now it's kind of the same story if you look at the 5-minute, how the bodies are, respecting the bottom end of the 5-minute fair value gap, and then at the same time using the top end of the this week's new week opening gap as support. So I'm not interested. Long story short, it's not for me. Yeah, and you can see like how I respected the midpoint of the gap, tried to go lower, got shoved, and kind of retook it. So nothing on the downside. I mean, yes, it does make sense for some sort of deeper retracement, but that doesn't mean that the market's going to give it to you, and I'm not willing to put risk on. So we kind of had our moment battling with the market already, and I'm happy to have come out positive. So, guys, that's going to be it for me. Definitely join the Discord. I appreciate everybody coming out and viewing. Thank you to the active chat members. Hope you guys are having a good day. Again, please be careful. It's kind of a weird one today. You can check out the SMT inception here. I think it's worth looking at. If anything's going to hold us down, it will be the dynamic between ES and YM and Q here with the SMT on the highs. Be careful. I mean, that could propel us to retrace lower, or who knows? You know what I mean? Maybe it does completely crack lower and moves into the 4-hour equilibrium, whatnot. But I don't know, guys. I'm kind of drawing blank. It's at the end of the day, and on a higher time frame, it's still very much so a consolidated range. We did just kind of take the range low. We'll see if we want to take the range high. SMT on that range low as well. But for ES, it's completely inside day of the 4-hour range. So we'll wait. It's kind of like a market maker model where it's consolidations, expansions, consolidations, expansions. Not too much to do in the consolidation part. Hopefully you catch the expansion part. Like that's kind of it. Guys, thank you. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe. Thank you, Dollar. W stream is correct, bro. We made it out alive. Thank the Lord. It's been rough. You guys know I needed this today. Damn, what a battle. But anyway, yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Viraj. And again, guys, please, 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 please. There is somebody trying to impersonate me. I don't charge anything. If I ever do decide to charge anything, the first you'll hear from it is live. You'll see it from my face, my voice. I guess you got to be careful with deep fakes or whatever, but it's going to come from this channel. Also, like, again, I don't know why anybody would try to scam my following. Like, small army, but strong army, but still small army. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Yeah, thank you. Please beware. They're reaching out to people on Discord. They have my same. It's very hard to catch because they are also GM futures, but just with a period at the end. I am GM futures, no period, no nothing. The only link to my Discord is the link in my description. All right, like I don't know what to tell you. Just don't buy anything from anybody. Again, I don't charge for anything. Everything is free. I'm not even that active in the Discord. Most of the time, if I'm streaming, the most active I'm going to be is on stream. So yeah, please beware. Don't send anybody money. I will never ask you for money personally. I'll never come to you personally and ask you for cash. Hopefully the following can just, carry us along and obviously trading. But yeah, please beware. Thank you to the people that brought it to my attention, especially Barrage and Hanzio. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great Monday, and try not to get marked by this market, man. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Peace.